ask you something. What would you do if you found out that a certain country decided only to appoint criminals to be judges in that country's judiciary system? That means that in every courthouse, when you walk in, there's either one or more judges sitting on the panel, and every one of them is either a murderer, a rapist, a thief. How would you feel about it? It's a bit absurd, isn't it? You certainly wouldn't expect justice to come out of that court system, would you? Why do I ask you this? Because when I think about the identity of some of the countries that were appointed by the United Nations Human Rights Council to be responsible for managing and conducting the preparatory committees leading up to Durban II, I absolutely cannot believe my eyes. Let me give you an example. The United Nations Human Rights Council decided to appoint Libya to be the chair of the preparatory committees. Libya, one of the gravest violators of human rights. Up until recently, Libya was sanctioned by so many countries in the world for being a player and supporting and promoting terrorism around the world, not to mention the unbelievable breach of human rights within Libya, according to Amnesty International's annual report. That's just Libya. Let's look at some of the 19 other countries that were selected to be Libya's vice chairs. Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran, South Africa, Cuba. Every one of these countries is a gross violator of human rights, promotes racism, discrimination, and yet these are the countries that were entrusted in preparing for the conference. What can we really expect from this conference? Needless to say that these countries, along with other countries that are Arab, Islamic, anti-Israeli countries, are trying to use this platform to bash Israel, putting that aside for a minute because who cares about Israel? What can we really expect from this conference as far as protecting all of the victims that are victims of these countries? Can we really expect anything to come out of that? That's why I started with the analogy of the court system. We have to understand that we can learn a lot about the conference and about what we can expect to be the outcome of that conference simply by looking at the countries who were appointed to be responsible for managing that conference, to be the ones deciding what items are going to be put on the agenda, what the final draft of the document resolution is going to look like. By the way, Cuba is responsible for that. Really, come on. For anybody that you meet with that says they want to be a champion for human rights around the world, support them, shake their hand, but make sure to show them that the upcoming conference in Geneva in April of 2009, titled The Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and other forms of related intolerance, can be expected to be anything but a conference dealing with these issues.